Paul, you must be encouraged with the way the team have played in the last couple of games.
Well, obviously the results have been important to us. I think we'd like to leave a nice taste in the fans' mouths before the end of the season. So the only way you're going to do that is by winning football games. And I'm very pleased the response I've had from the players.
Yeah, absolutely, and I mean, not just that. I mean, beating teams of high calibre playoff teams must be extra incentive from a manager's point of view.
Yeah, I think confidence is always a huge thing to a footballer, and there was a lack of that here. I do feel that they're taking the pressure off the players a wee bit. I think that going down definitely took the pressure off a lot of them, and they've played with a freer spirit. I think that's been part of the reason we've had the success.
Yeah, and there are lots of players presumably in the mix playing for their futures as well, which maybe puts extra...
Yeah, that's giving them an edge as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's important, isn't it? Because obviously as a manager you want to assess everybody.
Yeah, I think it's important that I get through as many as possible. Even the Bridgewater game the other night, with difficult conditions to play under, it's nice to see the commitment of the players, who some of them had played on the Saturday. So in the end, I've been able to judge near enough everybody now on at least one game, and giving me a clearer picture of which ones I would like to keep, which ones are going to move on.
Yeah, Joe Edwards is somebody that's returned to training. Obviously, you'd like to take a look at him as soon as possible.
Well, as I think, at the end of the day, I'll assess that. I think taking him back straight into the fold would be very difficult, because I would hate to think he just all of a sudden came from no training to playing a football game. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, and I guess also on a winning run, you can't expect players to just walk straight back into the team.
But there will be changes for Saturday's game. That's I can promise, because at the end of this, I've still to see one or two.
Yeah, and I mean, the games that you've got left have playoff implications, they have promotion implications, they have relegation implications, don't they, for the teams that you're playing against as well, so there's lots at stake for them.
Well, there's a big one next week Sunday. I'm saying, I don't know, I would be very hopeful that it's done and dusted by then. I would hate to see the way they're playing at this minute in time. I don't think I would fancy nipping up there. Hopefully they'll have secured whatever, and we'll have maybe a nice day.
Yeah, and Port Vale this weekend you'd expect to come out all gun. They need the points, of course, don't they?
I don't know how far. I've not actually looked at the table in Port Vale.
They're about 3 or 4 points off the relegation place.
I'm sure they'll be looking to finish the season on a high and obviously clear themselves from that problem. So I don't expect them to be on the beach yet. So it will be a difficult game.
Yeah, would it help you though, having teams that have so much at stake, that will help you get, I guess, the better out of your players?
Well, as I said, I've had an edge. I think the edge has been people trying to play for their livelihoods, really. So I must admit I've been very impressed with some of their performances. Their attitude to play has been excellent. Can't knock that. So yes, it's enabled me to have a clear picture now. Saturday will be a difficult game. They're all difficult in this league. We've got a different type of team coming to play against us. One is scrapped for their lives as well, so that makes it doubly hard. But I'm looking forward to the game.
Yeah, and it's the final home game of the season, of course. So it'd be nice to send the fans home with something to cheer as well.
Yeah, well, that's important. If we'd had 5 straight defeats to the end of the season, I don't think anybody would be looking forward to next year. Whereas we've had a decent run. We've had 2 back-to-back wins against opposition that are in the top 6. So that's been quite pleasing. So the fans, I'm hopeful will be, thinking about next season. Hopefully, can't wait for it to come around.
Yeah, you told us last week there was a possibility of a press conference at the start of this week. Is there anything you can tell us about that?
No, it's been a bit slower than I would like. But as I said, there is a lot of things in the pipeline at this minute in time. There's renewals of contracts. There's obviously the free list will come out in the next 10 days. There's lots going to be happening in this football club.
Yeah, and in terms of on the coaching front, there's no changes yet. Gareth Stewart, for example.
Well, Gareth's gone. I'm saying I think that's public knowledge now. It didn't last long in the private zone. So Gareth is. I'd like to thank him for his services to the football club. But in the end, the finance and budgeting for next year, you've got to take these kind of things into consideration. And I think it's important that there will be there'll be a lot of other hard decisions to be made in the next week or so.
Yeah. Good luck, Paul. Thanks for your time.
Cheers.
You set up we spoke after the game at Swindon, Paul. You set up in a certain way to try and close down their strength. Will we expect a similar thing on Saturday for Port Vale?
We will change system again. Well, I better not say that. Take that back. I wouldn't want Port Vale to realise what we're going to do.
But I mean,
so I'm not going to answer your question.
Okay. And all right, there's a big squad here at Yeovil, and you said about looking at a few more players and a few changes. And you mentioned the Bridgewater game, like Fergus Bell and James Hayes really impressed. How many more players will you be looking at over these next 2 games?
Let me think. 1 or 2.
Anything with the guys who did well against Bridgewater? Were they?
Well, as I said, 1 or 2 will get their opportunity. You know, the last game of the season and this one, you know, I'm going to bring a couple in. Maybe I brought a couple in last Saturday and they did quite well. Nana come in and I thought did well. Joel, second half I felt was more productive. And we'll do a couple of wee changes again, and we'll have to decide after looking at them, their systems of play and what they've been getting up to over the last 2 or 3 games. I'll decide probably tonight. And tomorrow morning we'll come with something weird and wonderful that hopefully will win us 3 points.
It's easy this managing Yeovil, like, isn't it? You come in, we've had victories. What have you done differently?
Simplified. I don't know if that's the word really. I think I've just been, you know, a calming influence. I think. Yeah, at the end of the day, I do feel that when you win, when you lose, you lose, you lose. It becomes habit forming. And when you lose a goal, the heads go down. And you know, I've tried to emphasise that all players that they're going to make mistakes. That's why they're not playing for Real Madrid and Barcelona. I'm saying that it's mistake. That's what the game in this country, the lower leagues, is what it's all about. If the less mistakes you make, the more games you're going to win. And I just tried to emphasise them that. They were, you know, at the end of the day, I'm not the type of manager that's going to browbeat them for, you know, making a mistake. I'm saying that I think I'm the type of manager that if they do it 2 or 3 times, I'll browbeat them. But no, I just feel that I tried to emphasise that the pressure was off us. You know, that we're going to make mistakes. And we've also organised ourselves, I think, pretty well. You know, I think the people have adapted and listened to what and taken in the information and fed it on into the game and our shape and our organisation. I think it's benefited us in 2 results since